Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this Friday edition of Wave Extra with myself, Jose Sosaya. Happy you're joining us on the Wave Now platform through your smart TV devices. If you're joining us on our socials, that tonight would be through YouTube, X, and Twitch. Going to fix the connection to Facebook. Hopefully we can get that sorted out as we wrap up for tonight. Prep that for the weekend. What I'm going to do is kind of go through some big headlines. Some of them involve some investigations. We're really trying to further find information and share that with you as we prepare for Wave News at 11. But of course, an opportunity to really dive into some of these stories and really at some point investigations we're trying to sink our teeth into. One of those is an update we just got that was breaking news earlier this afternoon. It involves two faces and names that are known, particularly in the Louisville school athletic community, but on prior accusations. And we're just now learning of this. And so we're learning of three men being indicted on sex crimes, and in particular, the two Stoner brothers facing a slew of charges. These include, troubling allegations like rape, sexual abuse, unlawful transaction with a minor, several more you can look at on wave3.com tonight. There are at least 4 different victims in this indictment, which we got a copy of from the court. The third man involved is Zachary Kilgore for a single count of complicity to rape. Sexual assault claims against Ronnie and Donnie Stoner date back to 2005, and Kilgore's charge comes from an incident in 2007. We also are aware that Kilgore took a plea deal back in 2009 for the murder of her mom and her son in Shively. Now, we are still reading through quite an extensive indictment because in total, if I remember my count correctly, 52 total charges combined for all 3 men. And as we look through those specific allegations in the indictment, we're going to have much more. In fact, tonight on Wave News at 11, our Julia Richardson, our reporter Julia, is going to share, it would be reaction from women who are going to go on the record tonight as being some who have brought forth these allegations for prosecutors to present this case in court. And you're going to hear perhaps, recounting what they're alleging. And so make sure to tune in tonight for Wave News at 11 for that particular breakdown. And so just major breaking news that is still being developed for you as we keep going through this Friday evening. All right, now moving on to another story, a particularly troubling outcome here for car drivers. So it's a different kind of investigation we're talking about. It was a car being stolen in broad daylight, and it wasn't the first of its kind, according to LMPD and officers. It's a new tactic they say thieves are using, and it's hitting a particular nerve for these victims. LMPD now warning car thieves are getting more creative, and they're taking advantage of the dark of night. And some car owners, depending on what brand you have, you might be more vulnerable than others. So our reporter Alina Noakes decided to take a look at how this impacts certain car owners and what they can and can't do and how to try to mitigate some of this.
There are a number of ways stolen vehicles like this one end up in LMPD's impound lot. But a new tactic is leaving some recent car theft victims on edge.
And you were inside when this happened?
Oh, yes, I was right through this window in this bedroom right here, wide awake, and I didn't hear a thing.
That bedroom just a few feet away from David Gary's driveway in the Beachmont neighborhood. But he didn't hear the rev of his Dodge Journey as a thief cranked it and drove away.
I feel pretty vulnerable now. I used to feel pretty confident about being able to leave it unlocked for a few minutes, but not so much now.
Gary doesn't know exactly what happened, enabling someone to make away with his car, especially now that he's learning about a new tactic these thieves are using.
It's no longer just unlocked car door handles that thieves are looking for when they're trying to steal a car. LMPD is warning vehicle owners and especially Dodge owners of a new tactic thieves are using. They're taking a picture of a vehicle's VIN number and then they're leaving, only to return a few days later with a brand new set of keys and leaving in that stolen car.
I don't know what people are capable of doing. I feel like I'm locking my car and I feel like I'm walking away from it, but now I'm finding out that somebody can just take a picture of my VIN number and create a key fob that does the same thing that the one in my hand does.
Gary's car was recovered, now sitting in LMPD's impound lot until he can pick it up. But others aren't so fortunate. That's why Gary is taking the warning seriously and hoping others are too.
I would certainly hope that somebody becomes more aware of the possibility of it happening to them and takes a couple extra steps to make sure they don't have to go through all the logistical hurdles that I have to go through to get my car back.
People are encouraged to contact the non-emergent LMPD line if you think you're being targeted by these thieves. In Louisville, Alina Noakes, Wave News.
All right, our thanks to Alina for that report. And moving on to another story, this involves a different kind of travel, but one we might all be familiar with. And a heads up, there could be some more changes coming soon when it comes to how you're packing your suitcase for air travel, at least domestically within the U.S. So now we're learning the TSA is looking to make some security adjustments to what you can actually bring with you. These are updates from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem saying Wednesday she is looking into, quote, everything TSA does, mentioning changes to the amount of liquids you can bring on carry-on luggage, because under current guidance from the TSA, travelers can carry liquids in those small containers. You're familiar with those probably, those 3.4 ounce or less per item containers. So we're learning that was something that she said she was going to look into. Last week, Noem announced travelers were no longer required to take off their shoes while going through screening. And while she mentioned liquids, Noem gave no details about exactly what changes may be made or how quickly those are going to go into place. And so perhaps some changes as far as transportation is concerned and the way we might have all been used to sort of going about that business for the last, let's say, 20 or so years. So something we're definitely going to be looking into tonight. All right, here we are at 8:11. And as we're doing that, I'm going to bring in Wave News reporter Logan Perone. Logan, make a time to join us. Of course, Logan tries to make the most of his day as he's preparing for the big show ahead at Wave News at 11. And what I'm going to do while I'm prepping some stuff here on the board. But Logan, I do know, has been hard at work talking to some stakeholders for this particular story, Logan. So we're talking to the people and numbers, and it has to do with sort of this juxtaposition between Kentucky and Indiana, our neighbors across the river, and a law that applies to them, particularly if you've heard of our reporting when it comes to street camping. And really who feels like in the first line of the effect of this all are folks in our community who don't have a place to call home, right, Logan?
Yeah, I mean, these are some of our most vulnerable members of our community. We're talking about our unhoused folks, those people who are homeless, who are just on the street having a rough time. Again, this is some of the hardest times of their life, is what I was told by these advocates that go out and try to help them. And that's who I was able to talk to today. And again, for those of you that are picking up what we're putting down, we're talking about House Bill 5 that was passed last year. That was the Safer Kentucky Act. Part of that wide-spreading bill was the fact that it made street camping here in Kentucky illegal. So, Jose, when we're doing these stories, a lot of the time we're digging the data up for ourselves. Other times it's like this story today. The nonprofit Kentucky Center for Economic Policy, they actually requested research and statistics for unlawful camping charges here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And that ranged from the implementation date of this bill, which would have been July 15th of last year. They got data all the way up through July 2nd of this year. Now, unlawful camping charges here in the Commonwealth, there were 425 people charged with unlawful camping in Kentucky last year. And one statistic that stood out to me as I'm looking at this, report from the Administrative Office of the Courts, here in Jefferson County, we accounted for about 42% of those unlawful camping charges, 164 last year. So again, this is something that we see here in Louisville a lot. We see, wherever you drive, you might see folks either on the corner with signs, you might see them out with carts, things like that. 164 people were charged in Jefferson County with unlawful camping last year. And
so, Logan, as you're kind of looking at all these numbers, put those perhaps, I don't know what you've been able to glean as far as context, the change in, at least, from a Kentucky perspective. Obviously, we talk about being so close to southern Indiana. They're not also fully exempt from what's going on and how this House bill has worked. But what are some of those comments or reactions you've been getting from the people who kind of deal with this day in and day out?
So I just want to talk to that a little bit.
Sure.
So the big thing that I want to focus on here is that across the river, there were similar attempts to have a law put on the books that would make street camping illegal. That failed in the Indiana state legislature. So I was able to, the last time I covered this, speak with the folks at Exit Zero, one of the other homeless shelters over there in Clark County. They said, hey, during the summer, we're dealing with a lot of people coming over to our side of the river because they don't necessarily need all the resources that they might be better off finding here in the city of Louisville. So what you end up with is, during the summer, more homeless folks crossing the river, whether that's over the walking bridge, the Big Four bridge, or, again, through some other mode of transportation. Now, as far as the advocates I was able to speak with here in Jefferson County, I did get to speak with the folks, or at least one woman at St. John's Center. That's just one of the many outreach groups here, and she is an outreach specialist. She said just within the last year, this law has made it harder for them to connect with those homeless and unhoused populations, because what you end up having is a fear of being cited. So, for example, they said someone who would be possibly sleeping on a sidewalk, on a bench, not causing any other problems, is now worrying about getting cited just for street camping.
And trying to stay underground is kind of how they would be treating a day-to-day existence.
Almost in the wood. They said they have to go into the woods at some points to go out there and connect with these people. And so that ultimately trickles down into, okay, hey, you have an appointment. Can't make that appointment because they can't find and connect with this person. They're missing court dates. All of a sudden they have a warrant out for their arrest. They have no other crimes possibly other than street camping. Now, again, this is something that for lawmakers I've spoken with in the past, they say, hey, we are able to tack this on as another charge. It's another thing we can use to prosecute. But again, the advocates on the other end say, okay, well, you're making people who are going through some of the hardest times of their life, they're going to have to deal with this. They're going to be charged with having a difficult situation. And they just say that that's not right.
And I know since you've got some numbers there with you, and it's always important, I guess, we think of, being so exposed is one word to say, but just so much more aware of it, but because we're in the biggest, arguably, metro area in the entire state. Are there numbers comparable to other, bigger cities in Kentucky, or just anything numerically speaking that you've been able to look at? And I know it's a lot of paperwork to have to sift through. Are there things that stood out to you?
Just one of the things, and I also want to highlight our sister station, WKYT. They did a really good job at breaking down in Lexington where this was an issue. But Fayette County was the second biggest with 53 charges. You then go to Boyd at 47, Davies at 29. And then as you trickle down, when we look in our neck of the woods, Bullitt County only had 2 charges. Let's see, Spencer County with 1. Again, it becomes a lot less common to see these types of charges in the more rural areas of the
smaller
state,
towns,
in the
yes.
smaller counties, with a smaller population. But again, you look at your population centers. Fayette and Jefferson have the 2 highest by far. And again, mind you, Jefferson County accounted for 164 charges. Again, that's 42%. 42%. So we're, again, not quite at half, but we're pushing to the halfway point of just the amount of people that we account for here in Louisville that are getting charged with unlawful camping.
So later tonight, Logan, when we break down what you've talked about and what you've looked into the report, I guess talk to us about some of the perspectives that these advocates, and it's not just advocates. In fact, I believe you happen to find someone who has had to, I guess, navigate dealing with this particular new charge themselves, right?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I've reached out, still waiting to see whether or not we're going to be able to connect
Fair
with that
enough.
person before.
Okay, I think that's on me thinking there was someone that maybe was willing to discuss on a personal story, but that's just the days get so the day gets so busy sometimes. I miss those updates. But
the big thing is it's not an easy thing to talk about.
No.
Because also if you're someone, and we actually talked about this, if you're someone that's going through this, to come out in the open and say, hey, yeah, I'm stuck street camping.
you must feel. They might feel shame.
And again, now it's that fear of coming out and sharing your story because all of a sudden you are a target for this new law. It's one of those weird areas where it's like, yes, we want to hear your perspective. It's just really hard for someone to say, yeah, I'm willing to share that, because there are the repercussions of saying, yes, I am committing what is now a crime. And at some points, it's no fault of their own. Like, I can share from experience. I know people in my own personal life who have had stretches of homelessness or, transitional housing, needing some place to stay. And for me personally, Jose, to think that that could be a crime, yeah, I understand where these people would want to hold off and possibly, not talk about it. It's not an easy situation to be in, and it's definitely not something that, everyone wants to air out there.
For sure. So then I guess I'll rephrase my question just so folks know to make sure to join us tonight at 11. What are some of the things they can expect to hear in your report?
You can hear how it's personally impacted those folks who are out going and doing the job, some of the ways that they're working around it. And then again, I'll have a more in-depth piece as well on our web story with way more as far as quotes and just some of the other things. There will be resources for you in the community to do your part in helping these individuals. So we'll just have you guys look out at 11 for that. As soon as we get this full report done.
I appreciate that, Logan. And I know it's we're only scratching the surface sometimes in a story that's ever evolving, but just to have this latest updated check to see how people in our own backyard are doing, that's worth time to see and where the intent of the law and the resources that are set aside for it, how that's being used. Always important to just check on that. So appreciate Logan's time. Again, a reminder, Logan's going to be joining us, Wave News at 11, as he always does. He'll have the focus report for you all there. Share that on wave3.com. So Logan and Julia, really tackling two very big stories. Logan with what the impact of the street camping law is, and Julia in these new indictments for two for long-time coaches, but involving these allegations of sex crimes. So we're going to have all that tonight. So we're going to take a break right now on Wave Extra. Coming back after the break, part of what will now work, because I understand how to connect the audio to the video if you joined us last night, to play part of our full library of both trials involving Crystal Rogers' disappearance. This is going to be trial 1, Steven Lawson, and so you all can tune in and listen to some of that police testimony yourselves. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Be right back on Wave Extra. Welcome back, everyone, at 8:23 here and Wave Extra for your Friday night. What we're going to show you is walk you through where you can find now what we're about to play, which is at least now the functional police testimony clip. A reminder for a library of all the courtroom video we received from both trials of Steven Lawson, who was found guilty, and then trial 2 of Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson in the case of Crystal Rogers. All of that up under the wave3.com. In the main bar menu, you can look at local news or just within news, and under the Crystal Rogers tab, you're going to be able to find all those different clips broken down into much more digestible pieces. So now what we're going to play for you is that particular source of Detective John Snow's testimony in Steven Lawson's trial. And so shortly here, we will play that and see if you can listen to this. At least that was my hope. So from router 1, oh, my apologies. I was trying to make sure it was playing there. So, okay. So here I think I should be testing this stuff kind of in real time, because now I thought I had found the correct router. So let's go ahead and just bring this back to me. All right, so why don't we move on to some more of today's stories and some things we wanted to get into, things we've been checking in on throughout the community. And so we'll start with this issue of a museum that's getting a lot of funding. And so I'm going to bring up that list here, or at least the video for that. So in essence, hundreds of thousands of dollars approved to help with the Portland Museum expansion. And we know Metro Council approved $250,000 from the 2026 budget to go towards the project. Yeah, the money's going to help the museum. This is for the Ahoy section. It's an acronym for Adventure House of You. Ahoy will be inside the historic Victorian mansion near the museum, and the mansion is being restored to help teach children about local history through things like exploration, experience, and play. And so let's see if we can play a little bit of now moving on to this next story. And so what you heard from there is at least a decision from Metro to invest, and that's Mayor Greenberg talking about that. Well, apparently Mayor Greenberg had also spent some time talking to community leaders during the weekly Bishop's Table discussions, and he talked about public safety, the recent violence we've been tracking, of course, in our reporting in the city, particularly gun violence involving young boys and teens. He also spent some time talking about the old Rodeo chemical plant in Park Hill. In 2023, the update was the site would be home to a new development that would bring residential, educational, and job opportunities to the area. But first, we learned all that contaminated soil needs to be removed.
Being a private project, this is not a public project. This is a private project. I can't think of any other project in the entire city of Louisville, in any corner of the city, that has more cash committed by the city to a project, and that's how important getting this project in Park Hill done.
So we're going to see how fast that goes. Mayor Greenberg says as of today, there's $17 million committed to the project, and nearly $9 million was spent on cleanup alone. So something definitely worth following here. Right now, what I'm going to do is bring it back to my camera. What I'm going to play for you is part of this really fun little package for a camp. We wanted to check in with some JCPS students as they're almost, if you can believe, almost getting ready to go back to school August 7th. For some, it's going to be their literal first day of school. We're talking about the kindergartners, 5- and 6-year-olds getting prepared through the district's Ready 4K camp. Things we take for granted now as adults, riding the bus, walking in a line. So our first shout out on the Wave Extra studio to photojournalist Marty Pearl for putting this little report together.
So what we are doing is we are preparing our students for kindergarten. We are focusing on each of those skills, whether it be literacy or math skills, along too with those social and emotional skills, because we want them to start kindergarten without having any fear, building that confidence level, letting them, go through routines and schedules.
4, 25, 26.
Looking at the feedback from teachers and families from years past, because this is our 11th year, we have seen that, our students, they are more confident. They walk into the classroom, they are a little bit more prepared in regards to academic, social, and emotional. And then, of course, too, just that confidence of making friends, and that transition is huge for our students.
Where does the A go? Let's see. I think it goes right there. Yeah.
We are hoping that they leave here prepared, excited to learn, and the most priority, too, is for them to leave here confident and ready for kindergarten.
Oh, that confidence is key. You love to see them, getting excited for school. As you grow older, we'll admit sometimes you just dread the nerves, the anxiety of that first day of school. But if you're anything, at least like I was, you meet great teachers, you get to hang out with old friends and make new friends. Feels like they're going to have a wonderful time. So looking forward to that. Enjoy the rest of summer break while we have it, for sure. Okay. trying again. This is in real time, trying to produce and get back to that sound I was trying to get to you earlier on wave3.com. So we're going to try a different method, see if there's any response now that we've played the correct. Okay, so we've just been trying different outputs. I want to see. I think we found the correct output. So now I'm going to let this play for the first 20 minutes of Detective John Snow's testimony.
Detective, you were detective at the time. Deputy now. Could you please introduce yourself, ladies and gentlemen, jury?
Yep, my name is Jonathan Snow. I'm currently a deputy with Bullitt County Sheriff's Department, but in 2015, I was a detective with the Nelson County Sheriff's Department.
All right. And were you the lead officer on this case back in 2015?
I was.
All right. Now, I want to go back a little bit of your background. Where do you live?
I live just outside of Bloomfield in a little community called Chaplin,
All right.
northeastern Nelson County.
Where'd you grow up?
A little bit of everywhere, mostly in Indiana.
All right. And you said you're currently employed with Bullitt County, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go through your previous law enforcement experience with me.
Well, I was a military police officer with the Kentucky Army National Guard for a few years. Started my civilian law enforcement career in 1997 with the city of Taylorsville, which is where I graduated high school. Worked there for just over 2 years and had an opportunity to go to the city of Bardstown. Worked there for a little while. It was a pretty good pay bump from the city of Taylorsville. And shortly after getting employed there, an opportunity came for the Sheriff's Department. So I applied and was hired there in 2000.
Okay. So, the Nelson County Sheriff's Office, let's talk about it. Okay. How big is the department?
Currently, or
When did back in 2015?
so we were probably, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think we had like 20 or 21 deputies, and then the command staff and the civilian employees. So we were less than 30 all total.
How about the number of detectives?
There were 2 of us at the time.
Okay, and could you, for those who haven't been to Nelson County, could you describe it to them a little bit about what the size of the population is and the makeup of the community?
Yeah, so Nelson County in 2015 would have had roughly 45,000 people. The biggest urban area would have been Bardstown, and then you have 2 other incorporated areas, Bloomfield and New Haven, and then there's 4 other unincorporated townships. I'm sorry, Fairfield is incorporated as well, but they have a mayor, but that's about it.
Would you say that it's got a pretty big rural population?
Yes, the county would mostly fall under agricultural and rural land.
All right. And you were a detective back at the time, correct?
That's correct.
All right. During your time as a career at the Nelson County Sheriff's Office, how long were you a detective?
I started full-time in the detective's office in 2009 after returning back from Louisville Metro Police Department.
All right. Up until your retirement?
Correct. I was promoted once just before the new sheriff took over the administrative duties of the captain.
Okay. All right. It's about 10 years, fair to say you were a detective?
Yes.
All right. And training. Have you received training on crime scenes?
Yes.
All right. And handling evidence?
Correct.
All right. And did you go through your regular DOJCT or basic training to be a police officer?
Yes. I completed the POPS certification in 1998 and had 40 hours or more of training every year beyond that.
All right. So let's talk about July 5th of 2015. Mm-hmm. That would have been the day that her car was found, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So did you all have an on-call detective?
Yes, the 2 of us shared on-call responsibilities every other week.
So there were just 2 detectives?
Correct.
Okay. So y'all, every other week you would be on call?
Yes.
All right. And who was on call this week?
Would have been Detective Mike Kaminsky.
All right. And did you all receive a call to come in?
Yes. I don't know if it was Sergeant Allison or Deputy Voules that contacted Detective Kaminsky regarding this case, but he was contacted and asked to respond to the Sheriff's Department at the time.
Did he respond?
He did, and he was involved in a vehicle collision on the way there, and so he could not continue his response.
So, did you get called in?
I did.
Now, what kind of report were you responding to?
So when I got the call, it was Sergeant Allison that called me to advise me that Detective Kaminsky had been involved in a collision and I needed to respond. It was technically a missing persons report, but by the time they had given me the call, her vehicle had already been located on the Bluegrass Parkway, and so Sergeant Allison asked if I would respond to the Bluegrass Parkway for the vehicle.
Okay. So, do you know who reported her missing?
Her mother, Sherry Ballard.
All right.
I believe she had several other family members with her, but she's the listed reportee.
And who took the report from her?
I believe Deputy Voles got the initial call to take the missing persons report.
And where did you go to? Where did you respond to?
Initially, I responded to the Bluegrass Parkway just west of the 14-mile marker.
Okay. And was that where her car was located?
That's correct.
And while he's looking through those, so when you got there, what did you find?
So there were Sergeant Allison and Deputy Voiles were already on scene. There were numerous other individuals that were just to the rear of the vehicle. When I got there, Sergeant Allison asked me to come up to the front. He explained to me that the family or someone had found the vehicle and contacted the family, and so the family had responded to the vehicle prior to our arrival and had some contact with the vehicle. I believe they opened the door to the vehicle, looked into it, maybe touched the window, opened the door, but didn't remove any contents or anything from it.
Okay. And you said it was at the mile marker 14, is that correct?
Just west of the mile marker. You could see the mile marker sign from where it was at.
Okay, here you go. I'll take it. So, it's west of Bardstown, is that right?
Yes, sir.
It's heading towards Elizabethtown?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so about how far out of Bardstown is it?
The last mile marker for Bardstown, I believe, is the 25-mile marker. That would be the New Haven Road exit. No, I'm sorry, that's the 150 exit. So exit 21 would be the New Haven Road exit. So it would be, let's see, is that 6 or 7 miles past that?
Okay, so is it still in Nelson County?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to actually take a look at those. You don't just take a look, flip them over for me. Okay. Do you recognize those photos?
I do.
And what are the photos?
They're photos of her vehicle, both on the parkway, interior and exterior pictures, as well as a photograph of her vehicle secured in Coulter's Towing's building.
Okay. And do these fairly inaccurately represent this?
Yes.
The judge had moved to introduce into evidence Commonwealth Exhibit 5 through 13.
Any objection to 5 through 13?
No objection.
So that's introduced at this time.
And Deputy, I want to pay particular attention to Exhibit 5, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so can you tell me what that picture is of?
Yeah, it's from the rear of the vehicle, maybe 30 or 40 feet behind it, showing a skid mark on the passenger side of the vehicle that we believed was made when the vehicle tire went flat and was driven for some time.
All right. And is that also visible in Exhibit number 6?
It is.
Okay.
It's actually a little better on 6.
Yes. Wish to publish to the jury, that may be published to the jury.
And talking about Exhibits 7, 8, and 9, okay, could you go through those?
Sure. You want me to describe them as I go
Yes,
through?
sir, as you go
Yeah,
through
so Exhibit 7 shows kind of an upper view of the passenger side of her vehicle, displays her purse, her cell phone, and the ignition key, as well as some other keys that are on the ignition key, still in the ignition. Picture 8 is from the driver's side, very similarly, and then the back seat of the vehicle still has a car seat and what appears to be a child's bag in the rear floorboard of the vehicle.
Okay. Now I want to talk a little bit, I have kids, okay? Do you have kids?
I do.
All right. And then are they little now?
No.
All right. does the inside of your vehicle now look different than it did when they were little?
Yes, it does.
Okay, could you tell me how it looks different?
Well, it's mostly clean.
Okay.
There aren't things like diaper bags and things floating around in there, toys and uneaten food and things of that nature that the younger kids tend to leave in there.
And we've heard testimony that Crystal had younger children, correct?
Correct.
Okay, Judge, I'm going to move to publish to the jury 789.
Any objection to publishing? So there may be published.
And finally, we'll talk about exhibits 10, 11, and 12.
And 10 is just a picture displaying the license plate of the motor vehicle for identification purposes. 11 and 12 are pictures of the interior of the trunk of the vehicle where there were items related to children, a little red wagon, a cooler with some sodas and high C, I think it was, some kind of punch drinks or something in there with water still in the cooler.
And was that all the contents in the trunk?
Yes, there's some things in the wagon, but
Okay. All right. Now, while the car was out there, were those photographs taken out of the park?
yes,
All right. And her phone was in there, correct?
that's correct.
Could you tell me the status of the phone, or could you tell if it was on or off or what?
Yes, it was off.
Okay. And then, did you collect anything out of the car prior to it being towed?
No, I believe everything was collected from it at Coulter's Tow.
Okay, at some point was it towed?
Yes,
Okay, and picture number 13, could you take a look at that?
yes, that'd be the vehicle in the storage, secure storage at Coulter's Towing.
So was it stored inside the building?
That's correct.
Okay. This doesn't have to be published. Now, you said something about we'd seen pictures of the car with a flat tire, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, did you all ever determine what the source of the flat tire was?
we didn't find out ourselves, but we sent it with the FBI, and they found a piece of metal lodged in it. That's about as good a description as we could get from it.
Okay, did you all gain information that showed that there was a problem, that the family knew there was a problem with the tire?
I believe they'd been airing it up some over the time, yes.
And when it was towed to Coulter's, did somebody follow it or accompany the vehicle?
Yes, Sergeant Allison accompanied the vehicle. Once it was inside the secure storage, he removed the keys. I believe he removed the purse and the cell phone, the keys, and secured the vehicle and brought those items back to the sheriff's department.
And after the car was brought back, did you stay out there on the parkway?
We did. We had several people out there searching, as Miss Ballard alluded to. The family was out there. We also had several people from Bardstown Police Department and Nelson County Sheriff's Department searching the area. I wasn't out there an extremely long time before I went back to the Sheriff's Department to talk to Miss Ballard.
Okay, so you went back to the sheriff's office?
Correct.
Okay, and did you talk to Miss Ballard?
I did.
All right. And she's described about reporting it. And how was she?
She was obviously distraught, which is not all that unusual for somebody that's reporting their child missing, but it is sort of unusual for somebody who's reporting their adult child missing. And she was very concerned about her, said that there was no way that she would leave Eli for that long of a period of time, and certainly would not be out of communication with her other children, as it appeared that she had been, for that duration.
All right. At some point, did you reach out to Brooks Houck?
Yes, sir. I called him on the phone.
Okay, when?
That afternoon.
All right. And what was your conversation with Mr. Houck?
I asked him if he...
Objection. We see counsel at the bench.
Judge, I didn't object when the previous arguably hearsay came in related to the discussion with Ms. Ballard, because I think that went to state of mind, so it wouldn't have been offered for the truth of the matter asserted. But on this one, it sounds to me like if he's talking to Brooks Houck, then we're probably going to get into something that would be objectionable.
Well, I think he's just going to, the answer to my question is going to be that he asked him to come in, and he did. So I don't know.
Oh, maybe I misunderstood I thought he asked him what he said.
I thought that's what you said.
I said, did you some point you talk to Brooks Howe? And he said, yes, I called Brooks Howe, and he was getting ready to say, asked him to come in, he said he would.
I didn't have a problem with that. I thought I was going off a different cliff where I thought we were going.
I had the same interpretation there, and to be fair, I thought that going into the nature of the conversation, it was just to confirm that he made a phone call to ask him to come in.
Good.
Go back to normal.
Forgot to turn my microphone off. So you call Mr. Brooks, or Mr. Brooks' house, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, did you ask him to come in?
I did.
Okay.
So we're going to stop that particular part of the video there. But again, a reminder, as I'm going to hit the escape bar on this, you can watch the full trial, not just Steve Lawson's trial, but also Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson's trial right now, all there for you on wave3.com, because it kind of fits a 48 minute clip for this. We figured we could divvy it up into thirds, keep back with it as we start or the next work week coming up on Monday. So appreciate you sticking around for that. One more commercial break. We're going to let you know you can help us out as we get closer to the school year, and by joining us in one of our many drives to help the community out. So we're going to take a quick break, like I said, right here on Wave Extra. We'll be right back. Thanks for hanging around, folks, as we're coming to an end here on Wave Extra Friday night on July the 18th. Just a reminder, and we'll show you a little bit more details if you join us tonight on Wave News at 11. Just a reminder that kids are going to be starting the school year pretty soon. They're going to need a lot of those basic necessary supplies. So as a partnership, Wave News, the Neighborhood Place, and Furniture Fair are teaming up to collect all these donated items before school starts for local students. You can drop off these supplies at any Furniture Fair location from now through July 30th, so you still have, give or take 12 or 13 days, plenty of time to come make a difference. Your donations are going to give kids a great start, a great first leg up for the new school year. As a reminder, you can always get this information, of course, all the latest breaking stories, updates, headlines, investigations, original reporting, long-form investigations, and even entire court trials and cases on the website wave3.com. Appreciate everyone joining us. Take care. Hope you enjoy your weekend. Stay tuned for that breakdown of your weekend forecast and tonight's headlines on Wave News at 11. I'm Jose Sosaya. We'll see you next week.